Good morning, guys. How's it going? Today we are going to be looking at how to fuel yourself for maximum energy when you go kite surfing. So you can kite for longer and have more fun while you are out there. So, welcome to the channel. My name's Sam from Tantrum Kitesurf. If this is your first time here, this channel's all about how you can improve your kite surfing when you are off the water. So if you want to supercharge your kite surf, get fit, look great, have energy to burn, then you're in the right place. And all you've got to do, hit the subscribe button below, click the bell to receive notifications whenever I release a new video, and you are good to go. So as I say, today we're talking about how to fuel yourself for maximum energy, so that when you go kiting, you can hit the water with energy to burn, stay out there longer, have more fun, progress faster. Now, the key, as a side effect, of that, obviously, for a lot of people, as soon as you talk about fuel and nutrition and things like this, one of the side effects, obviously, of this is body composition. At the same time, it's about how you can fuel yourself to look great in your wetsuit as well, look and feel great in your wetsuit. Now, this is kind of straight off is the first point I want to make. If you are looking to lose weight and get great body composition, build muscle, lose weight, look and feel awesome, don't necessarily go looking for a weight loss program. The key to weight loss is health. If you are healthy, you are inevitably going to be losing weight. It's not necessarily the other way around. There are many, many weight loss programs out there, body composition programs, which you'll lose weight. Losing weight's easy. Hell, chop off your arm. It doesn't necessarily build health. Whereas if you are in a program which builds health, you cannot help but lose weight. So that's the first thing we'll look at. So this is why the focus of this is energy, not body composition. Because if we can fuel you to have more energy, you will by default get better body composition. Whereas if we focus on body composition, you're not necessarily going to get more energy. In fact, most kind of body composition programs, you would end up with less energy. So moving on from that, the first thing I want to talk about is this idea that we've got this model of nutrition that we've inherited and we've had for like the last 100 years or so, this calories in, calories out model. It's pretty much been disproved. If you're still worrying about how many calories you are taking in on a daily basis, I've got some great news for you. You don't need to sweat it. It really doesn't matter. It's really not important. Yeah, sure, in a lab, it works great. But in reality, in the real world, is it possible to kind of get healthy on a low-calorie diet? Well, yes, it is, but you have to do it right, and most of the ways that it's done isn't right, and it's certainly not sustainable long-term. So the first thing I want to say is, look, don't worry about calories. What you do want to worry about is nutrient density. Now, this is the absolute key. Forget about calories. Let's talk about nutrients. Why? Because nutrients are the things in your diet that are going to give you that energy to burn. It's the nutrients that your body literally converts into energy, helps it grow, helps it repair, helps it be more resistant to injury. All these things that we need and want as kite surfers. So focus on nutrient density. Okay, Sam, well, that's great. That's a nice key catchphrase. How do you actually do it? Well, the easiest way to look at this, the more nutrients that a plant has, or a food has in general, the brighter colour it is. This is a really, really simple guide. Let's take a beetroot and a courgette. Courgette's got a nice green, vibrant skin, and you chop it open, it's this kind of bland white colour on the inside. A beetroot, chop it open in the middle, it's bright purple all the way through, and that's because a beetroot is just packed full of nutrients. So this idea of filling your plate with loads of vibrant colours, and I'm talking about veg here, loads of different colours, is really, really good advice. And try and have different colours because the different colours generally represent different vitamins and minerals. So beetroots, carrots, broccoli, things like that, all awesome for you. If it comes to meat, some of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, things like liver, kidneys, sweetbreads, organ meats, these have the added advantage that they are dirt cheap. More difficult to find, but really, really cheap. And actually, when you cook them properly, as my mother never did, sorry, Mum, always incinerated it to hell and hid it under the onion so he wouldn't notice it was there. And it's actually beautiful. It's really, really tasty. The sweetbreads in particular, wow, they're just amazing. But packed full of nutrients. Egg yolks. Some seafood, shellfish in particular, are hugely nutrient dense and contain a lot of nutrients that you don't get elsewhere in the diet. But just seafood in general, again, if you're aiming for fish, aim for the smaller fish because they tend to have lower concentrations of heavy metals in them. But all these foods, if you base your diet around that kind of nutrient dense food, then you can forget about calories. You can absolutely forget about calories. It just does not matter because what we're doing is we're giving the body the fuel it needs to convert into energy that will A, give you great body composition, but B, will mean that you have energy all day long when you hit the water. You can kite surf for 6 hours straight, no problems. Easy enough. Let me just check we're all up and running. Just getting a few warning messages here. No, we're all looking good. All looking good. Okay, so talk about nutrient density. Probably the most important part of the whole thing. Forget about calories. Nutrients is where it's at. From here, once you've kind of cracked that part of it, screen's just going mad. Once you've cracked that part of it, the main way to understand how your food is affecting you on a daily basis and whether your fuel plan is working is pay attention to how you feel. It's mind-bogglingly obvious, and it's so obvious to people, Sam, what on earth are you talking about? Jesus. Of course I pay attention to how I feel, but most people actually don't. Most people, the general wisdom in the Western world is that you eat something for lunch and that then you need to sit down on the sofa 2 hours afterwards and sleep. Food, the right food, should leave you energized. You should eat and then feel this just energy just flashing up. Wow, where on earth did that come from? Where's all this energy come from? I've just got energy to burn. Not, I've eaten, oh my God, I know in half an hour I'm going to have to sit down on the sofa and watch the football for 3 hours because it's just knocked me out while I digest all that food. That being knocked out after eating food, that's a sign that you've done something wrong. That's a sign that you've eaten something which isn't digesting well, that your body's having to spend a huge amount of energy to digest. Now, obviously, if you're going kite surfing that afternoon, you have one of these meals at 12 o'clock and the wind's in at 2, that's going to be the worst thing you can possibly do. You hit the water and suddenly all this food's still being digested, all the energy is being used on that, and you've got no energy to do the thing that you want to be doing, i.e. go kite surfing. So you've got to make sure that you pay attention to the signals your body's sending you. So if you eat a food and it knocks you out, try something different next time. Okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. And the classic is pasta. People carb loading before they go kite surfing. We'll talk about this in a minute. And then an hour later, generally, wow, I just feel exhausted. And there's a very good reason for that, which I say we will talk about later. If that's too kind of subjective for you, then another great thing you can do is use testing to back up your fuel plan, your nutrition plan. So, you start your diet, you go to your doctors, you get blood tests run, you run with your diet, and then in a month's time you run some more blood tests to see how that diet's affected you. Now, a word to the wise about testing. The way that doctors and laboratories work out the optimum guidelines for testing is they run tens of thousands of tests every year. And they then take the average of those tests and say, most people are in kind of this range here, so that must be the optimal range for these testing. Okay, you kind of see the logic behind that, you understand how that works. However, the problem comes because think about the people that are getting those tests. Most of those people are probably very unhealthy. They've gone to the doctor for this test in the first place. They're probably insulin resistant. They're probably pre-diabetic, a lot of them. Or they've probably got some other underlying issue going on that we don't really know about to make them want to go and get a test in the first place. So the optimum ranges of tests are often a bit out of whack. So you need someone who knows what they're talking about to interpret them. Now, there's actually services online that will do this for you. You can plug this in. It gives you the optimal range for performance, for health, for energy, rather than just the medical guideline range. The other thing is that you need to understand how to interpret them given your situation and what you're trying to achieve. Let's have a great example of cholesterol, which has become the bad boy of modern medicine. It's kind of been having its name cleared slightly over the last few years, but it's still this big bad boy. Too much cholesterol, you'll die. You'll die of a heart attack. And the reason this has come about, let's just explore why this has happened. Basically, what has happened is that over the years, as doctors saw people dying of heart attacks, what they did is they would perform post-mortems on these people who died of a heart attack, and they would inevitably see a huge buildup of cholesterol in these people, in the veins and arteries of these people. So their conclusion, very logically, was that cholesterol causes heart attacks. It's this cholesterol is blocking up the arteries, it's stopping the blood from getting through, and it's causing a heart attack. Okay, yeah, that makes a certain kind of sense. Until you start actually digging a bit deeper. And this is where you've got something between correlation and causation. They're two very different things. Because what they're actually discovering now is that what happens is that as you eat sugar in particular, but sugar toxic foods, things like this, which sends out free radicals and all these other kind of toxins which bounce around your arteries, they actually cause damage to your artery walls as they're travelling through the bloodstream. They actually cut the artery walls. Your body's response to this is to produce cholesterol, because cholesterol goes and patches those artery walls. Now this works great at a low level, but when you're eating those toxins and that sugar all the time, the body doesn't have a feedback mechanism to say, hang on a minute, we're putting a bit too much cholesterol out here, that veins, that artery's about to shut, we need to turn this off. It doesn't have that because it's just not designed for these quantities of arterial damage that we're giving it. So it just keeps producing cholesterol, keeps patching until your artery clogs and you have a heart attack. So actually the cause of heart attack in this case is too much sugar, is bad diet, is too much toxins in the diet. So you can start to see the idea between, or the problem with just saying this causes this. Well, does it, or is it just correlated with that? There's a big difference there. So again, you do need help sometimes with understanding how to interpret these tests, because most doctors still these days will say, you've got high cholesterol, you need to get your cholesterol down, it's a heart attack risk. And yes, it may well be. And if you're insulin resistant, it very much so. But in insulin sensitivity, if you're if you're quite healthy, then high cholesterol is actually a good correlator with increased longevity. What? You want more cholesterol? Well, yeah, if you think about it, what is the basic building block of all hormones? Cholesterol. You want high testosterone, which let's face it, most of us do, especially as we get older. You need cholesterol in the diet. So again, this is why when we talk about nutrient-dense foods, and we'll talk about this later, I would be looking at nutrient-dense fats rather than nutrient-dense carbohydrates to give you that maximum energy and maximum longevity. Okay? So we'll go straight into that now. Let's just check in the chat. How are you guys doing out there? All good? Hello there, guys. How are you? Good to see you all. Good to see you all. Thanks for being here. Let's dive straight in. Let me just find the right page. There we go. To carbohydrates. Because ever since I was a lad, and I'm sure you were, since you were knee-high to a grasshopper as well, people have been saying to me, sports performance, what you need to load carbohydrates. Carbohydrate loading delays fatigue and improves performance. Yeah, and there's an awful lot of evidence for that. I'm not going to dispute that. But, the simple reason is your body burns glucose. The easiest fuel for the body to burn is glucose, and carbohydrates break down as glucose. It's the fastest activated fuel source. The question I ask is, how much are you prepared to compromise your health for your kite surfing? Carbohydrate intake spikes blood sugar, which, while it may be good for short-term energy, leaves you with a crash. And what goes up? The body's a homeostatic system. So as you eat carbohydrates, i.e. sugars, glucose, your blood sugar spikes. Now your body does not like high blood sugar, because over the long term it causes huge amounts of damage to the body. So your body does something about it and pumps insulin out to reduce blood sugar levels. Now your body's a homeostatic system, so just like your boiler at home, it's set at 16 degrees, let's say, but it heats up, it hits 16, but because it's already been pumping out energy, there's the lag effect, so the heat actually rises to maybe 80, even though your boiler shut off when it hits 60, because it takes a while for that effect to happen. Then your boiler shuts off, and again the temperature starts dropping, and it drops down past 16. Your boiler turns on at 16, but it takes a while to heat the room up again until the temperature starts rising. So actually, though you've got the thermostat set at 16, it's rarely at 16. It's normally somewhere between 18 and 14, and it bounces back and forth between those two. Your body's the same. So you get a blood sugar spike, your body overcompensates slightly, so you get this huge crash afterwards. So you get a huge spike, you get an energy burst, then you have this huge crash afterwards as your blood sugar crashes. which can only be relieved by taking in more carbs. So you have this question, oh, I fancy a Mars bar now, boom, and it shoots you up again. So you end up all day on this roller coaster ride of going up and down. Blood sugar irregularity is also correlated, not necessarily causational, but it's correlated with reduced longevity. i.e. eating a lot of carbs may make you die younger. And it's definitely a major contributor to insulin resistance and diabetes. And what's probably the biggest problem with this? The biggest cause of this in the Western world? Breakfast. What do most people have for breakfast? Toast, or even worse, cereals. Cereals and milk. Okay, let me tell you about Mr. Kellogg's. Mr. Kellogg's was a Mormon. He despised fornication in all of its forms. He believed that fornication was the work of the devil and shouldn't fornicate. So he went about creating a cereal which was designed to destroy people's libido. It was literally designed to stop you wanting sex, to turn off your sex drive. Now, given that libido is one of the biggest markers of health, a person who is healthy will have a strong sex drive because that reproductive system is, one of the most important systems in the body. The fact that he was setting out to do this, well, how did he do it? By making really unhealthy food. And then making billions of dollars selling it to us just because it's infused with a few vitamins and iron. Fortified is the word. So this is the real problem, because you start on a breakfast of cereals, whack, straight away, loads of carbs. Your blood sugar, and by the way, milk, the lactose in milk breaks down as sugar. It's also one of the major things that people are intolerant to. When you combine it with the gluten in the cereals, you've got a major problem for most people. You get a huge blood sugar spike, plus all the damage that's been doing. Then you get a huge blood sugar drop about an hour later, and then you're on this roller coaster ride of up and down for the rest of the day. What you want for kite surfing, because let's face it, you're going to go kite surfing for probably a few hours at the beach. What you want is clean, stable energy. You don't want these, so you don't have to be running off the water every half an hour to have another biscuit, or another bit of fruit, or a Mars bar. If you just want to get on the water, cool, I've got enough energy now to last for half an hour. The way you do that, the way I recommend most kite surfers do that when I work with them, replace carbs with healthy fats. Healthy fats. Fat is a better fuel source than carbs. 1 gram of fat has over twice the amount of energy of 1 gram of carbs. But don't worry, eating healthy fat doesn't make you fat. In fact, it does the opposite. And this is another myth which has been thoroughly debunked over the last few years, to the point where the government is even starting to change their guidelines and say we need to eat more healthy fats. Now, if you're interested to go deeper into what we've talked about so far, and there's loads more to come, check out our Optimal Kitesurfing Nutrition Guide, designed to give you maximal energy on the water. There's a link to it in the notes below this video. If you're watching the replay, it should be popping up somewhere around here. Have a click on that, go over, download it. It goes through everything we're covering here, but in much more detail. It's something you can go through in your own time as well. So go and grab that, and that will give you the basis for how to start really fueling your kite surfing sessions to the max. So we talked about carbs, fats. So cutting out sugars and as many carbs as possible is one of the first things I do with athletes I work with, whether they're kite surfers or not. Generally I work with kite surfers, but it's all of them. Once these people become fat adapted, which might take a few weeks, they find they have much better energy and moods. And fat, as we said, as a fuel source, burns clean. It means it doesn't produce free radicals, and it increases your energy stability as it doesn't spike and then crash your blood sugar. Now, okay, at this point, some people come back, well, isn't fat more difficult to mobilise for the body? It costs the body more to use fat as energy than it does glucose. Yeah, for sure, it absolutely does. When you start exercising, especially when you do something high intensity, your body is so glucose hungry. The muscles store glucose, which burns it straight away, and then it strips glucose from anywhere it can because it can convert glucose very, very quickly into energy. Fat takes a little bit longer. But look, you don't, especially for kite surfing, because kite surfing tends to be more of an endurance sport, i.e. we go and we do it for hours, you will burn that glucose. You will have glucose in your system. Your body will make sure it's got glucose in the system, whether you're eating carbs or not, because it's a process called gluconeogenesis where it can convert proteins into carbohydrates. So it's going to have enough glucose. And what will happen is you hit the water and you start burning that glucose. And by the time, even before it's depleted, your fat burning system turns on and you switch from glucose burning mode to fat burning mode. Now it's a hybrid engine, so it burns both. But once it takes a while for those fat stores to mobilise, but nowhere near the time that you're going to run out of glucose. So you'll still have glucose in the system as you start up the amount of fats that you're burning. And as we said, fats burn cleaner, they're much more efficient. And, if you're training your body to burn fat, guess what else it does? It burns your fat. So it uses the reserves you've got. So by eating more fat, you're actually training your body to burn fat. Because it says, I don't need to store fat because we're getting enough in the diet. One of the major reasons why fat is stored is because you cut it out. And the body says, shit, we need fat to live. We can't live without it. We better store some because we're now in an ice age where there's no food around. There's no fats available. No animals have got fats on them. Something must be going on in the environment. So let's make plans for that and store some fat on us. So again, for body composition, this is a great thing to do as well. So again, energy, focus on energy, body composition follows. Okay, so that's kind of the background basics, but let's get down to specifics. What would I do when I go kite surfing? How do I eat? What would I eat? Pre-kite snacks, post-kite snacks, things like this. Okay, so first off, if I'm kiting for less than about 2 to 3 hours, I don't change anything. I just eat as normal. Now, this means no pre-kite snacks, nothing special for breakfast, nothing special for dinner or tea. I'm from Yorkshire when I come back from it. Just as normal. If you can't kite for that long, there's something fundamentally wrong with your lifestyle, I would suggest, which really needs addressing first before we start looking at fancy fixes and pre-kite surfing, post-kite surfing snacks to make you last a long. I'll say, look, let's forget about that. Let's not stick a band-aid on this. Let's get to the cause of this and figure out what is causing these energy problems that stop you from kite surfing for at least 2 hours, because that's a major problem. If we fix it, everything else will improve around it. So again, if you're struggling to kite surf for that long, fix that first, and then worry about, well, what can I eat beforehand to give me the energy that I need to last longer and longer and longer. If I was going to have a monster session, and I class a monster session as anything over 2 to 3 hours. So if I was going to maybe have 2 sessions, so a morning session, an afternoon session, or the wind came in at 1 o'clock, and this is just amazing, I'm going to stay out all day, this is like the best day ever, and stay out till 7 o'clock that night, I would look at slight carb loading. Probably have a little bit higher carbs for breakfast that morning, might have a bit of sweet potato, or a bit of rice, or something like that thrown in with it, a bit of squash. And then either, if I knew it was coming up, I'd have had some the night before, so a slightly higher carb dinner the night before, or when I got off the water that night, I would have slightly higher carb dinner again to replenish those glucose levels as we go. But again, nothing major. I'm not talking about bowls of pasta. I'm talking about having a bit more carbs, a little bit more carbs, maybe an extra bit of fruit, or an extra sweet potato or something like that. Nothing, not talking huge mounds of pasta, which is going to massively spike my blood sugar. If I was on a kiting holiday, where I'd be kiting for 5-6 hours every day, then this obviously has to change. And I would certainly be eating more carbs in this case. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily healthy, but sometimes you need to sacrifice a bit of health. And again, if it's for the short term, it's not the end of the world. You sacrifice a bit of health for endurance gains. So if you're going to ask your body to do a crap ton of unnaturally heavy work, give it some extra sweet potatoes, cassava, yucca, plantain, or white rice. Why? Because these types of carbs are much higher in resistant starch. They don't spike your blood sugar anywhere near as much. And they tend to feed you gut bacteria as well, and they tend to burn cleaner. Now again, if I was doing that, if I was having a monster session, I would probably also have something at the beach with me to eat at about the 3 hour mark. Again, I'd aim for something with a little bit of carbs in it, and preferably some protein and fats. Nuts with a bit of fruit work amazingly in that instance. And that's it. There's no kind of secret pre or post kite surf snack that's going to supercharge your kite surfing. Get your basic dietary requirements right on a daily basis, and you won't need any of those kind of energy drinks or pre-kite surf snacks or things like this. There's actually a lot of evidence coming out to show that exercising in a fasted state and then remaining in a fasted state for a few hours afterwards can have huge benefits on your performance, but also on your long-term performance, because it releases a load more growth hormone, it stimulates the muscles more, and once you get used to it, it's dead easy as well. I'd just make sure if I was doing that, the meal I ate eventually ate was very nutrient dense, and I'd probably up the protein a little bit to make sure my body's got loads to rebuild with. Okay, so if you are looking to rapidly change your body composition to get in great shape for kite surfing, and implement all these stuff, then let's chat. There's another link in the description below where you can organise a free NTX consultation with me, where we'll start working out a plan to get you where you want to go fast. I'll also at the same time give you a guided tour of the NTX program, so we can show you exactly how we're going to improve your body composition, fitness, mindset, recovery, basically upgrade your entire biology. So when you hit the water and do anything else in life, you're doing it 100%. All you've got to do, again, the link is in the show notes below. Click the link, pick a time, and I will talk you through it. So there we go, guys. That's a very, very quick kind of overview of my approach to optimal kite surfing nutrition, or optimal athletic performance, or performance in general nutrition. I hope you found that useful. Any questions, as always, bang them in the comments below. I do look at them all. I will answer you. It might take me a few days sometimes, but I do get back to you eventually. Yes, I hope that helps. Feel free to click on any of the links in the bottom. It's all free straight off the bat, so just jump in, get involved. I will speak to you on the next video. As always, if you did enjoy that, if you found it useful, make sure you give us a thumbs up in the YouTube box below. Do all the usual YouTube jab. And I will speak to you on the next video, guys. See you soon.